What's up, everybody? Welcome back. UFC Vegas 56 DraftKings MMA DFS picks lineup strategies. Alexander Volkov, Jairzinho Rozenstruik. We're here. Tips, bets, everything you need. FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever. Parlays, props, whatever you want to do. We're here to help you out, break it down for you. We had the week off, but I'm here with Jake the Snake, MMADFS.com. Jake, man, I hope you enjoyed your week off.
Yeah, man. Nice to get a little bit of break right back in there. Hope you had a good time as well.
I did, and we were welcomed back with a 14 fight card with a billion newcomers. And as you'll quickly find out as you listen to this video, the hardest pronunciation slate probably since we've been doing these videos. So bear with us on that. We've done the research. We'll see if they come out during the show. But what we're going to do here, we're going to break down the main event, what it means for betting and DFS purposes, Volkov versus Rozenstruik. 5 newcomers on the card, in addition to a few more fighters that only have 1 or 2 fights in the UFC. So we'll talk about those fighters and what their outlooks are. Fights you want to target for DFS, a couple prize picks plays. You see the promo code here, Occupy. Get a 100% deposit bonus at Prize Picks when you use that code. Go check it out. We'll give you some picks to play over there as well. And we'll close it out with our stream parlay of the week. So, Jake, lots to get through. So let's just jump right into it. And we'll start with the main event, which is Volkov and Rozenstruik. And you said to me, I believe it was last week, that we've had like a once in a year fadeable main event for like the last like 10 straight slates. It's been kind of crazy.
Yeah, man, it's been absolutely nuts. Like it's just like one after another. You're like, all right, well, this is a fadeable one, but next time, we'll get back on track. But here we are, another Rosenstrike slate. So, we're all familiar with that if we played the Cyril Gahn disaster slate.
Yes, exactly right. So we got Volkov here against Rozenstruik, and Rozenstruik not a big volume guy, but how do you think this plays out for DFS purposes?
Yeah, I mean, for DFS, I think that we're going to see a low volume stand up battle. You got Volkov. He's not really trying to wrestle. Hasn't landed a takedown, I don't think, in his last 5 fights. He had a few earlier in his career, but primarily a striker. He'll throw a lot of kicks. He's super tall, super long. He's coming off a submission loss. And he's going up against a pure kickboxer in Rosenstrike. So I think both guys are going to be looking to strike, but no one's really going to be looking to land too much volume because you're fighting Rosenstrike. You're fighting the guy that knocks people out with one punch. So you can't just sit in there throwing volume. You have to hang back, be smart. Try to pick him apart from distance. Basically, do what Cyril Gahn did, and try not to let him land the knockout blow, which inherently means lower volume.
It's that simple. It really comes down to it. And for me, Rozenstruik is one of the easier fades that we've had. I think he'll be relatively popular. I know your ownership projections have him at least north of 25% on a 14 fight card, and he probably gets above 30%. And the big reason for that, Jake, is people just look straight at his knockout number. His finishing odds are actually higher than Volkov's, despite being the underdog. But if you look, really, you're just holding your breath for 5 minutes. He gets the round one KO. He's probably in the optimal just because of being an underdog. But as long as you get out of the first round, you're probably dodging that bullet.
Yeah, I mean, he's never scored above 100 DraftKings points out of the first round. He's got a couple scores in the 90s. He had that round 5 KO against Overeem. He scored like 90 DraftKings points there. So, yeah, I mean, generally not putting up big scores unless he gets the round 1 KO, which obviously he's good at landing round 1 KOs. But, Volkov's been super durable. I don't really see him getting a round 1 KO. But, now that that's said, he's definitely going to come in. 30-second starching of Volkov coming up.
Oh man, can't wait for it. And then low risk, I assume it sounds like, because we talk about on this show all the time, DraftKings low risk contest. You stack the main event that allows you to salary to get elsewhere, but not only do you not have to stack the main event here, you probably don't even have to play either one of these fighters in your low risk lineup.
Yeah, I think that's right, man. I think you definitely don't want to stack it. And I mean, maybe if you build a lineup and the only piece you have room for left is Rosenstrike, you could make an argument that, he's kind of a sacrifice play with upside, but I don't think you need to play either guy in low risk. I mean, you don't have to play him in high risk either. I'm kind of treating it more like a 3 round fight, essentially, like they're basically round one or bust guys, and Volkov is never involved in round one finishes. Essentially, I think 11 of his last 12 fights have made it to the second round.
So there you go. Now that we said that, like you said, both fighters will score 100 points somehow, but Looking at it on paper and from a high level, it looks like a very favorable main event in all contest types. So, Jake, let's get to the fun stuff. The newcomers, fun from a DFS perspective, absolutely horrific from a content creation perspective. We'll start from highest price salary on DraftKings and work our way down. And this is what we'll do because there's so many fighters we got to talk about, Jake. We'll keep it simple. I'll ask you just quickly, I'll say, what is their fighting style? And then I'll ask you, what is the most likely outcome for this fight? And then we'll finish with, how does this newcomer actually pull off an upset or get the win, regardless? So we'll start from the top, and we have 9,200 is actually the cover boy of the Daily Plug this week, which is live on OccupyFantasy.com. We have Rinat Fakhretdinov. Careful saying that. YouTube, don't cut us off from the ads. It's not poor language, I promise. So Fakhretdinov, what is his fighting style?
Yeah, so he's a Russian wrestler, real grappling heavy, looking for takedowns, looking for ground and pound on the mat, trying to finish people with typically with TKOs on the ground. He will look for guillotines as well.
What's the most likely outcome for this fight? And since he's the favorite, that is probably included in the same question.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most likely outcome is he gets Andreas down to the mat. He beats him up. Andreas has no gas tank, so even if he can survive the initial round, I think we're going to see Andreas gas out by round two. I think we're going to see a finish in the first two rounds for Fakhretdinov.
Sounds right to me. All right, moving on down, we have, let's keep scrolling, 8,200, Karine Silva, fresh off the Contender Series. What do we got for her? What's her fighting style?
Yeah, so she's another grappler predominantly. 100% finishing rate. All 14 of her wins have come in the first two rounds. 0-2 in fights that have made it past the second round, which kind of ties into like her cardio concerns. So, kind of a early finish or bust grappler for the most part.
So what do you think is the most likely outcome for this fight with Battaglia? And how does, if it's not the most likely outcome, how does Silva pull off the win?
So I think Silva really needs a submission in the first round and a half, maybe two rounds here. I think we're going to see her fade late. And I think if that happens, Botelho could take over late. So I really think she needs an early finisher.
I think that's fair as well. Now we get to the fun stuff, the underdogs. If you've seen my tweet today, if you've seen anything on MMA Twitter about our guy, Askar Mozarov, who has a very sketchy record, just lots of just bizarre details in his background. Jake, from the limited tape we could find, and we actually dug deep on the internet, we found a bunch of his tape. I will say that. From what you found, what kind of fighter is he?
Yeah, man, this guy's record has been moving more than the line, but
Worst opener we've probably seen in a while, by the way, I would say.
completely crazy. I was glad to get on the Manyfield side early there, but this guy's just like a power striker, complete fraud, as you said, like kind of like caught falsifying his record, lying about losses, beating up trash cans on the Ukrainian scene. The one time he came, I think it was Titan FC. It was like fourth most recent fight. He just quit like 3 minutes into the fight, took an elbow to the face on his back, and he was just
He's like, yo,
like
ref.
raised his hand. Yeah, yeah, ref, I'm out. He was asking for his like bill at a restaurant. He's like, I'm good.
Garcon,
So
please
yeah,
get me out of here.
fraudulent power striker, I guess would be his description.
Very fair. Very fair. So, what is the most likely outcome here? Minifield dominates round one.
Yeah, I think Manyfield just runs through him. I kind of think Menifield's going to look to take him down. He's been looking to grapple a little bit more, and we've seen Mazarov, however you say his name. I mean, it's probably not even his real name, so it doesn't even matter. But we've seen him just so helpless on his back that I think Menifield can finish on the feet, but I think the path of least resistance would just be take him down and start hammering away on the mat.
I think
Either
that,
way, I don't see the fight going past round and a half.
so if he does pull off the upset here, how does it happen? Just he looks better than he has, or he just blitzes Minifield in round one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be some sort of blitz. He's got multiple early finishes recently. He's got strong leg kicks. I mean, he's a big, powerful guy. I mean, if he lands the right shot, I mean, obviously he could finish Menifield. I mean, we've seen Menifield get knocked out by OSP before. So, I mean, anything can happen in a fight when you got two 205-pound dudes swinging hams at each other, but that's pretty fraudulent. So I think it would take a Hail Mary, or else he just like lands three like massive leg shots and like blows out Menifield's knee or something.
Which is possible. His leg kicks were pretty strong, I will say. No matter who was on the other end of those kicks, they were pretty strong. So, all right, moving on down. Lucas Almeida, 7,100. He has a matchup against Trizano. So, Almeida, what type of fighter is he?
Yeah, so he's kind of like a wild brawler. He's a Muay Thai and kickboxing black belt. He actually lost a decision on Contender Series last September, went back to Brazil, landed a first round guillotine, which is kind of his submission move if things get on the mat, is just to like try to lock up a guillotine. And the UFC gave him a shot. You know, he got that first round finish, and they're like, all right, come on down. And I think they're going to like his style because he's just really aggressive, really pushing the pace, looking for first round finishes, 100% finishing rate, just kind of a wild puncher, basically.
What is the most likely outcome here?
I mean, it seems like with Trezano, his fights inevitably end up going to decisions. I think Almeida will come out hot, probably win the first round. If he can't get a finish, which he probably won't. I mean, you look at his round one KO line; it's like plus 1,900. So that gives you an idea of what Vegas thinks his chances are.
Wow.
I think Almeida is going to slow down after the first round. I think Trezano, chips away at him. I think he's able to stay safe. I think Trezano ends up winning the last two rounds. Maybe we see a close split decision, but I think Trezano ends up winning the decision there.
So, from that, Almeida, in order to pull off the upset here, likely has to get an early finish.
I think so.
Okay, fair enough. And 19 to 1, dude, seems kind of wide to me. What do you think?
I mean, I bet it.
Okay, so there we go. That says it all. So, all right, finally, the last newcomer, short notice debut for Dan Argueta. Give me the rundown on his fighting style.
Yeah, so he's a wrestler, former college wrestler, lost a decision to Ricky Tercios on The Ultimate Fighter a year ago. Then he went back to the LFA, got three straight finishes. He fought a month ago in a 5 round split decision. So he's been super active. And you kind of wonder, I mean, that's like not very much time to go 25 minutes, take a little bit of damage, and then turn right back around, make your debut on 10 days' notice. So definitely a little bit sketchy. And he took it. This is up a weight class. His last four fights, I believe, have been down at 135. This will be up at 145, where he fought earlier in his career. But really wrestling heavy style for Dan.
Short notice, up a weight class. Historically, one of the worst bets you could possibly make in UFC.
Yep.
So the most likely outcome here is Jackson winning, but how do you think?
Yeah, so we've interestingly seen a ton of the veterans here, the favorites in the spot, win decisions. But I think everyone is on Jackson winning early. I mean, for Argueta's credit, he's never been finished. He's never technically lost a pro fight. The Ultimate Fighter fight was considered an exhibition match, so technically still 8-0. But I mean, the most likely outcome is Jackson submits him. I think there's somewhat of a chance that Argueta can just survive to see a decision, but definitely not the most likely outcome.
So in the worst possible spot for Argueta, how could he possibly pull off this upset?
So the way he pulls off the upset is he gets takedowns and he can hold Jackson down, which no one's expecting. But I mean, that's the way Argueta wins fights: is he gets people down, he holds them in top control, and he lands ground and pound.
Fair enough. All right, let's quickly discuss fighters who have one or two fights in the UFC. And we got a lot of comments. People like the game we played 2 weeks ago where we say whether they're a good or bad fighter and whether it's a good or bad matchup, just to kind of give some more context to their young UFC careers. So let's start with the most expensive fighter on the card, Aaron Blanchfield. Good fighter, bad matchup, bad matchup.
Good fighter, bad matchup.
Yes, for sure. Jeff Molina.
Uh, Good fighter, good matchup.
All right, all right, all right. Then we got Benoit Saint Denis.
I mean, a lot of these guys, the jury's still out on. I would say bad fighter, maybe good matchup. That's a tricky one, man. That's sort of a wild card fight.
All right. What about his opponent then? Niklas Stolze.
I mean, considering we just saw Benoit take, like 200 punches to the face in his last fight, I would say it has to be a good matchup, but I would say Stoltze is a bad fighter from what we've seen so far.
All right. What about Johnny Munoz?
That, I mean, that's a good matchup in the sense that Nunes needs a submission to win and Gravely is super prone to getting submitted, but I would still say it's a bad matchup. And Nunes, the jury's still out on him too. He could be good. I think he's a little too one dimensional though. I think he's he needs to get some sort of striking game for me to call him a good fighter. So I'm gonna say bad fighter, bad matchup, but that one's a little bit tricky.
Okay, a little bit of a gray area. We can't always nail it all in 2 words, so very fair. And then I think that's it. What about Mihailidis? He has 3 fights. I'll let you discuss him really
Bad
quickly.
fighter, bad fighter, bad matchup.
All right, fair enough. So, all right, that'll do it for that. Let's finish up here. Final segments, fights we want to target, prize picks that you want to play, especially if you use our deposit bonus code, and our stream parlay of the week. So, Jake, one fight that you think has the best chance of being in the optimal lineup no matter who wins.
Yeah, I really like the Molina Zhumagulov fight. I think we're going to see a ton of volume there. I think Zhumagulov might go for some more takedowns, which kind of increases his upside. And at his cheap price tag, I think he has a chance to get there in a decision. I mean, we look at Molina, he's been involved in that crazy brawl in his first fight. I mean, he looked pretty prone to getting taken down. In the second fight, he was able to avoid the submissions well, but I think we're going to see a lot of volume, both striking and potentially takedowns there. So I think that's going to be a favorable one from DFS.
Love to hear that. What about prize picks? Any, I guess, what's the one that stands out to you the most, and maybe add a second one so people could parlay it together?
Yeah, there's a lot of close ones here. I think the Jackson over 100.5 points. I mean, you look at the narrative there going against the short notice debuter. I think that there's a really good chance that Jackson gets over 100.5. And then I really like Gravely over 80.5. I mean, you're basically saying, does Gravely win? I
Right.
mean, he's the favorite. I mean, 80.5 is not that many points. I mean, the guy averages like 125 DraftKings points in his wins. I mean, it's pretty nuts.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, if he wins, he's scoring 80 plus. So yeah, I like that one as well. And let's get our stream parlay of the week. We talked about him having one fight under his belt. So for my leg of the parlay, guy with tons of submissions, who I believe is in the good matchup. Probably bad fighter, but in a good matchup. And that'll be Saint Denis by submission. What are the odds you have on that one?
Plus 240.
All right, Saint Denis by submission plus 240. Who are you adding to it?
I'll put the cover boy in there to stay on brand. I'll go Fakhretdinov inside the distance, negative 110. If we pair those together, that should be plus 549.
Take a week off. We come back and we're gonna hit a five plus 549 parlay. I like it. So the recap main event, you can fade it. 5 newcomers on the card, a handful more, just a couple fights under their belt. Lots of chaos. 14 fights on the card. Lots of ways to play your lineup. So make sure you check out MMADFS.com where Jake breaks down every single fight from a betting and DFS perspective. Check out his archive to see how historically 14 fight cards have played out for lineup construction and salary usage. Key to any research that you do for DFS. OccupyFantasy.com, Jake wrote the daily plug, which has the top plays, which has his best bets, but most importantly, lineup construction tips for FanDuel, DraftKings, depending on the type of contest that you're playing. Occupy model ranks every fighter, FanDuel and DraftKings using our proprietary projections. And the builder is up and running where you can build up to 300 lineups using our optimal UFC lineup criteria. So that'll do it for this video. If you like what you saw, make sure you subscribe to the channel, get notified when we go live, upload any new videos. Give us that thumbs up if you appreciate the UFC content. And if you have any questions, you can always comment on the video, but more importantly, join our Discord server. Click the join button below this video. Chat with me, Jake, other members of OccupyFantasy.com, and come sweat the fights on Saturday. So for Jake, at DFS_MMA, I'm at Brian Jester FF. We appreciate you listening as always. Good luck and enjoy the fights.